Well, good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us and welcome to our Educator Extras UK sponsorship webinar. My name's Jackie and I have been with ANZUK UK for 4 years. As you can tell by the accent, I am originally from the UK, but I live in Brisbane and I've been in Brisbane for about 4 years now. In Brisbane, I recruit educators to go over to the UK. So I'm a UK relocation consultant. And tonight, as you can see, we have some special guests. We have two consultants from the UK. It's nice and early for them, 7 a.m. at the moment, but I'm very happy that they've joined us. So yeah, we have Hugh and Matt. Would you like to say hi, guys?
Hello, everyone. Nice to be here.
Hello, good evening, everybody. Hi, my name's Matt. I'm the London Schools team divisional manager. Worked for ANZUK UK for just under 2 years now. I've been in education recruitment for 9 years. And before that was a sports coach and did quite a lot of work in schools as kind of a TA and cover supervisor.
Awesome.
And my name's Hugh Jones. I'm the regional director for ANZUK UK, working across all of the UK, England and Wales. I'm based in Wales, but we have an office in Newport in South Wales and in Bristol. I've been with the company 2 years this week, which is a nice anniversary to have. Been in education recruitment for coming up to 20 years. Was previously a teacher, taught in the UK, taught in Australia. So yeah, really passionate about education. And my wife's still a teacher as well, so it's education through and through for me.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being here. I know you've both got kids, so I know that it's not too much of a drama for you guys to be up early. You've probably been up since 5 anyway. So
it might be a drama when they interrupt us in about 10 minutes.
We'll forgive them. Yeah, so I thought probably what we'll start with is just giving a little bit of an update on the situation in the UK. I know that a lot of educators here in Australia will be keen to know what's happening. We can read what's happening on the news, but it's great to know from you guys kind of what the situation is, how everything is on the ground. So yeah, tell us about it.
Yeah, sure. Well, we're currently coming towards what we hope is soon to be the end of our sort of second full national lockdown. It's starting to open up again now. We locked down again in end of November, beginning of December, following the initial lockdown back in March last year. So it's over a year since all of this first started properly. And it's been a challenge, like for everyone across the world. But luckily last year we had good weather, so that was a bonus, having the nice weather at home whilst we're not allowed to go anywhere. Been a bit different this time around, obviously through the winter months, been a bit colder and wetter, and not really being able to do much. But schools have started reopening again now. In England, all schools are open. In Wales, all the primary schools are open and all the secondary schools open in a couple of weeks' time.
Yeah.
So in 2 weeks' time, or certainly by the middle of April, all schools across England and Wales will be open again, which is exciting. Just to get certainly have the kids back in school, that makes a difference. But obviously getting back to what we do properly. So we're reaching what we hope is the end of this current lockdown, and we're well ahead of the world, I think, in terms of vaccination. So any sort of third wave that people are expecting, I don't think we're going to see the impact anywhere near that we've seen previously. So yeah, looking forward to getting back to it, shall we say?
For sure, absolutely. Yeah, you go, Matt.
From a London and Surrey point of view, we're as busy as we've ever been in terms of demand for educators.
That's amazing.
Yeah, there's loads of different funding has now been allocated to schools, which is some has kicked in already and some will kick in September in terms of kind of COVID catch up and support for young people who have missed out due to COVID. And that offers opportunities for all different types of educators to come and have a positive impact on young people in the UK.
Great, that's so exciting that you're super busy. So that's very good to hear. I know that my dad has been very excited about the vaccine being rolled out, and I know you guys are ahead of schedule with volunteers helping as well to give it out. So yeah, that's great, and I know they've put some pretty good restrictions in schools in terms of mask wearing and things like that. So awesome. That is great. Thanks for that, guys. So what I thought that I would do first is just give a little bit of an overview of our recruitment process for the UK, and then we'll go on to the sponsorship, which is what you're all here to learn about. So like, as you know, obviously traveling to the UK is an awesome experience. You get to experience living in a different country, which undoubtedly you will experience personal growth from that. Being British and having moved to Brisbane, I have experienced a lot of personal growth from living in a new country. And I think, you know, Hugh, you lived in Australia for a bit, so you know, you always grow as a person.
Definitely, I'd make it national service if I could. That everyone has to do it. Not everyone does, but yeah, it's an experience not to be missed without a doubt.
That's what I always say to everyone. Look, you know, the fact that you get to travel and, you know, it's really just going to change your life. And if anything, it's going to add to your CV and your teaching career and, you know, all the experience. And the good thing to know is that basically when it does come to the requirements, we basically organise everything for you. So we can help with your visa, we can help, you know, we'd need you to send your CV and references, but we will give you updates on how to, you know, provide a really good CV. We would need to see your qualifications, and we organise your police check for you. So really you can kind of just sit back and relax. We organise everything for you, which is really good to know. And then depending on what you're looking for, the great thing about ANZUK is that we are not just in London. Like we have a lot of work available in London, north, east, south and west, as you can see, but also in addition we've got all these other offices as well. So we've got Newport in Wales, we've got an office in Bristol, we've got an office in Surrey. So wherever really you're looking to go, we can accommodate it. And we also have a variety of work available. So there's obviously the relief work available, but then in addition there are contracts available as well. And we will be doing regular webinars, and in some of the webinars to come we will sort of focus, we will have one just sort of focusing on London, another one focusing on Wales, another one focusing on Bristol, so, and Surrey, so just to give you kind of like more information about working in different locations. So before we get on to sponsorship, most of our educators do go over on the Youth Mobility Scheme. Now you can only get this visa once in your life. You have to be under 31 to get it, and certain nationalities. I suppose that most people on here may be Australian, so you know, that won't be a massive problem. Now, in terms of the cost altogether, it's £1,184 English pounds, because you have to show that you have £2,530 in savings, and the cost of the actual visa is £244, but then you have to pay for the IHS, which is basically the healthcare service in the UK, and because you're going to be there for 2 years, you pay £470 per year. But a bit later on we will come back to the NHS and just kind of explain what's covered in that, which is, you know, a lot. So I think that's important in these times as well, to know that if you do go over to the UK, you know, you are going to have access to the NHS, and that gives you a lot. And yeah, so you don't have to be too concerned about that. You're going to be covered for health services a lot. Now, if you are lucky enough to get an ancestry visa, then that means you can actually spend 5 years in the UK. And in order to qualify for that, you have to have the birth certificate of one of your grandparents, and you need to be able to provide that. And then, so the total cost of that one is 4,152. But again, you know, you're covered by the NHS, and you got a whole 5 years, which is a lot of time there. And that one takes about 3 months prior to arrival to come through. So if you are eligible for that one, then give yourself enough time to actually apply for it. Now we also have a visa service available, which we will come to a little bit later, and we can talk about that in a bit. But what we will do now is we will talk about sponsorship. So yes, whoever would like to step in and just kind of explain what sponsorship is and the eligibility for it.
Yeah, that's fine. So shall I jump in on this one, Matt?
Go for it.
Yeah, so sponsorship is, I mean, it's been around for forever, really, but it's changed recently following the UK's decision to leave the EU. So as of December last year, what was called the Tier 2 General Working Visa changed to the Skilled Worker Visa. In essence, it's still sponsorship, so it still means the same thing. There's just they've made it a bit easier, if you like, to get through the system, because under the previous visa, it was a long process, and there was a cap on how many people were allowed to get that visa to come into the UK, and then the visa board used to sit 3 or 4 times a year, and if you missed that board, you missed the opportunity. But with the new skilled worker visa, those 2 main restrictions have been removed, so there's no cap, and employers can apply for it themselves. They don't have to sit through a board. So they've loosened the process up in order to improve the flow of skilled workers into the UK. So it's good news for anyone that requires that sort of visa and wants to work in the UK, because there's a few loopholes that slowed the process and made it a bit more difficult under the old visa, and those loopholes have now sort of been removed. So it makes it a bit more straightforward of a process for the worker as well as the employer. Some of the things haven't changed. Like, the most important thing to be eligible for one of these visas is that you have to have a job offer confirmed from a UK employer. So you can't apply for the visa without that job offer, and that hasn't changed at all. What again has made it easier with that aspect for schools, particularly in the UK, under the previous visa, they had to do what they called a resident labour market test, which means they had to advertise the position for at least a month and prove that they'd looked at the local market before employing somebody from overseas. That no longer needs to happen. So if they want to employ somebody from overseas, they don't have to look at the local market first. So that's again real.
That's huge.
Huge system, yeah, huge system change on that, because it really opens the doors for those schools that want to employ the right person, not just somebody that's already in the UK. So,
yeah.
So that's a big change.
So really now would be like the best time ever in the history of sponsorship to be applying for sponsorship, really.
Yeah, it's definitely the most straightforward it's been and I've been working with teachers needing sponsorship, like I said, for about 20 odd years, and this is probably the most straightforward system there is, which and it's kind of based on the Australian system, so I'm not sure who to give thanks for that.
Yeah, but there is a cost to it as well. So yeah, did you want to sort of briefly touch on the cost there?
Yeah, that's fine. So the cost does vary. It's depending on how long you're going to be staying for, so how long your contract's for. So if you're, and depends if you're applying from outside the UK or inside the UK, which again is a slight difference to the last visa, because you could only apply from outside the UK for the last visa. This allows people to apply if they're already here or want to extend the visa or transfer employers, which is a real improvement. But the standard cost for particularly teachers applying for the UK is, if you're going to be here for up to 3 years, £610 per person. And if you're going to be staying for more than 3 years, £1,220 per person. Slightly different if you're within the UK, slightly more. I'm not exactly sure why there's a difference in cost there, but there is. And then there are lower costs implications for what they call the shortage occupation list. So that some teaching subjects are part of the shortage occupation list as well, and we've listed them there. So if you're securing a job teaching maths, physics, or science, where an element of physics taught, computer science, or Mandarin, bizarrely, don't actually know any schools that teach Mandarin, but that's on the shortage list. Then there are slightly lower fees for that. And similar to the previous visas, the healthcare surcharge is also there, which is £624 per year. So there's, as an example, at the bottom they've put for a 1-year contract, so with the visa fee and the surcharge, you're looking at about 1,234, 2-year contract, 1,858, and so on. So the longer you're going to stay, the bigger the upfront cost. But then you're set for that entire period of time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess in terms of the actual process, I know that kind of previously it was quite hard for sort of primary school teachers to get sponsored, but I understand that primary school teachers are even on the shortage list now, and so it's definitely an option available for primary teachers.
Yeah, primary teachers aren't on the shortage list, but it certainly makes it easier for primary schools to sponsor because of the loopholes that have been removed. And that was one of the main barriers previously with primary schools, is that with the market labour test and so on, they'd normally get quite a lot of applicants even if they didn't want to employ them, whereas now that doesn't have to happen, so they can employ the person that they want to employ, and that is the big change.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, in terms of the actual process, kind of as you've said, the most important thing is to get a job offer, and so that's why we would work so closely with the Educator to enable that to happen. And we would guide you through completely. So do you want to sort of talk through a little bit about how we can do that?
Do you want to say that, Matt?
Yeah, sure. Firstly, we work with you and with the schools in order to make sure that we've got a job offer that you are happy with and in an area that you want to come and live in. We then start the process of visa application, and we work with you to make sure that you're fully prepared to come and join us in the UK, essentially. The team, certainly in the London office, it's quite unusual that you're listening to someone talk with an English accent, because the vast majority of our office here are expats from either Australia or New Zealand. So we have that real kind of vast array of experience of people who've made the journey that you're about to undertake, and who can offer guidance and advice from this side of the world. We've also got Jackie and her team in Oz who can offer guidance and advice from Australia or wherever you'd be leaving. The visa support team are that $99 is $99 really well spent in terms of taking you through that process and taking away all that kind of paperwork and red tape and making sure that you get the visa and you get the visa sorted really quickly. But yeah, so the first thing you'll need is that job offer, but that's why we work so closely with you and with schools in order to get that sorted for you.
Absolutely. And a question that I wanted to ask, like in terms of the demand and like locations, would you say that's in all of our locations quite equally, or would you say there's more of a demand in any geographical location in particular?
Generally, the closer you are to London, the bigger the demand. So the southeast part of the UK, which is where I think that the general teacher shortage in the UK is felt more than most. And then the further away you go from London, depending on areas, then the less likely or the less demand there is. That's not to say there isn't demand, because in my time in recruitment, I've managed to place and find the right opportunities for people right up to Newcastle, Liverpool, Manchester, Bristol. But like I said, predominantly the sort of the belt around London, that southeast belt, and as you come a little bit out from there. That is the real hotbed, if you like, for opportunities. Which is a good area to be because it's easy to get to from anywhere in the UK. But there are opportunities right across. In Wales, a bit more difficult. It's very rare to get a sponsorship opportunity in Wales as a country, because in Wales generally there isn't a teacher shortage for permanent positions, but there is sort of contracts and relief work. So just across the bridge in Bristol, which is where I live, actually my closest city, even though I live in Wales, Bristol's my closest city. So there are opportunities in that part of the world. But like I said, the southeast part of the UK, London, belt outside of London, and that sort of region is the main area really for sponsorship opportunities.
Yeah, so that would be the London office that I work in, and our Surrey office that's run by a colleague of mine, a guy called Frank Caldo. And he works with a number of schools and trusts that have sponsored in the past and are actively looking to sponsor. Most notably the Bourne Trust, Bourne, and they have schools all around southwest London and into Surrey. And they're huge advocates of ANZ UK, work really closely with them, and I think they've sponsored, I think it's up to 27 or 28 teachers over the past 4 years.
Amazing.
Most of those have come from on the ground, but they make offers over Skype interview, and have sponsored straight off the bat before.
That is brilliant. And I'm taking it that kind of it's all types of schools, so primary, secondary, state, independent schools as well, special needs schools. Anyone excluded from that sponsorship ability?
There's no schools that are excluded from it. I'd say the predominant sponsor schools would be the secondary schools, mainly because under the old visa it was a bit more difficult for primary schools because of the loopholes they had to jump through. So I'm kind of hoping and assuming now through conversation that I've had with some primary schools that actually they're going to be more open to the sponsorship route now as well, because it is that much more straightforward for them. But predominantly over the years, it's been mainly sort of the secondary schools, the secondary state schools, some independent schools, but generally they don't really struggle for attracting teachers. So it's generally the state secondary schools, special needs schools, and now we expect the primary schools to open up a lot more as well.
Perfect, that's awesome. Do you know if anyone who has a family could bring their family with them? I think that there's potentially additional costs if they were having family members come with them there on a sponsorship visa.
Yeah, if you've got a job offer, then obviously you can bring your family. You're not expected to leave them behind. They do need to also have their own individual visas in place, which you apply for online. There is a cost to that, which we've got a document I'm sure we can send out that, that details that. But yeah, bringing family members is not an issue. And if you're married or in a partnership and you've been together for at least 2 years, then bringing your partner across and any children is no issue whatsoever.
Beautiful. And then one thing that we do is we help educators in terms of providing. Oh, sorry, I am playing. Not quite sure how I'm playing Lachlan's video, but I did want to tell you about Lachlan's video. So it's right. If I hover here and press pause, then I should be able to talk and you'll hear me and not Lachlan. But basically, we give advice about providing a visual educator video. Now, Matt, did you want to explain what a visual educator video is? I know it's our way of helping educators, secure that that sponsorship position.
Yeah, I'd love to. So the first thing I think to point out about a visual educator profile is that over 80% of educators who prepare a visual educator profile are in a long-term or permanent role that they've sought. So it's definitely a key in to making sure you land that position that you're after. Essentially, it's a short video giving you the opportunity to bring your CV to life, really, and to talk about your experience and your passion for education, and deliver that in a way that can't come across on paper. And I think, especially during the lockdown period we've had, where interviewing face-to-face hasn't been possible, many more schools are now engaging with a video form of interviewing. And so what the Visual Educator profile does is give schools a snapshot of what you're like as an educator, where your passions lie, where your experience lies, and it's kind of like a pre-interview. So schools will see 4 or 5 visual educator profiles and then trim that down to 2 or 3 educators they want to spend more time with over VC.
Wow.
Yeah, so the benefit to you as the educator is that it puts you in front of a number of potential schools and for a number of potential roles, and gives you really the opportunity to talk about your passions and your experience. It goes alongside a snapshot of your experience, as you can see from the screen in front of you. So the school will read a bit about you and then see you present yourself and your teaching philosophy. But we've had huge success with it, and actually schools who are always a little bit dubious about interviewing over VC or weren't really quite sure about that process have really bought into the idea off the back of seeing visual educator profiles.
Fantastic. And I have added Lockie's video here, which you might not want to watch right now, but anyone that's tuned in, I will actually email you the full presentation in your own time. You can watch it. So it's a good example there.
On the ANZ UK website, there's a member of our internal staff who's done one as well. So you've got a couple that you could compare and contrast. So a young lady named Phoebe, who's a teacher who now works for us in our office, has done a visual educator profile as well. So you can check that out.
Awesome. Fantastic. And then one thing that I wanted to touch on as well is the quarantine self-isolation period for anyone that's going over soon. And thanks for correcting me, Hugh, because I thought it was 2 weeks and it's not. It's actually 10 days. But I know you did say that it's changing by the moment.
It's changing almost by the day at the moment. The rules, who has to quarantine and who doesn't. There's list of countries that if you arrive from or travel through on your way to the UK that means you have to quarantine and isolate, normally in a quarantine hotel, which is not cheap either because they're provided by the government. But that list of countries is literally changing by the day. So anyone, not that there are many direct flights from Australia to the UK,
well, for sure, yeah.
If you were flying directly, then there wouldn't be any issue at all. But from Canada, that's not an issue. You can come straight into the UK without quarantining. But like I say, it changes by the day. And it was only a few weeks ago that it changed from 14 days quarantine to 10 days quarantine. So by the time next month comes around, it might be 7 days quarantine or there might be no quarantine. We just don't know. So but that's the standard 10 days. And like I said, there's no point in giving that sort of list of countries now because it changes every day, and it's on. You'd be informed of that if you were booking a flight anyway, and it's on the UK Gov website, regularly updated.
Yeah, for sure. And I know there's a direct flight from Perth to the UK, but I think anyone coming from Australia is more than likely probably going to stop in a Middle Eastern or an Asian country. So that is one thing to be aware of. Heading over at this time. And then for anybody that doesn't know, and I'm sure that everybody does, anybody that's going over to the UK will, on one of those visas, will be eligible for the NHS service. And we love the NHS, don't we, guys?
It is very, very good. Yeah, they take a lot of flack, but they are awesome.
They are awesome. I love the NHS. Yeah.
I think just from personal experience, from speaking to people about who have recently had experiences with the NHS, they've been full of praise for any interaction they've had with any healthcare professional. And I think actually COVID and the lockdown has really brought out the best of people in the British healthcare service, and the sense of pride that they took of looking after people and caring for people has grown, if that was possible. And so we're huge advocates of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And so yeah, as you know, it's a government-funded medical and healthcare service, and you are entitled to free appointments with the doctor. You can get free hospital treatment. I know that in parts of Australia you need to pay if an ambulance comes out. It's not like that in the UK. You also get subsidised prescriptions and subsidised dental care as well. So yeah, it's brilliant, and you don't need private health insurance when you're there. So it's I've always been a massive fan of the NHS, and it's great that everyone will be eligible for that. Now, in addition, and I know that we touched on this earlier, we do have a visa support service, which is well worth the money. It's $99, but if you do take a contract with us, an ambassador contract, you actually get $50 reimbursed. So really, it's a minimal cost, and we can support if you are looking to get the youth mobility visa or the ancestry visa. Our visa support service consists of Sharon and Susie, and they get fantastic feedback. We are the only agency that are offering this service. If you were to go to a random visa support service, you're going to be looking at a minimum of $300, and it's well worth it. Like, if you want to do it yourself, that's absolutely fine. But it's great to know that if you do need any help whatsoever, we have that service available for you. So why not give it a go? So yeah, just in terms of going, you will have the time of your life. We can totally support you, and I think that hopefully this webinar has really just shown you the opportunities that are available, and we're really kind of making a change in the terrible situation that we've been through over the past year and a half. And we are actually offering monthly information sessions about heading over to the UK. So in one of those sessions, we actually talk about the whole process, which I touched on really briefly before, but we'll talk about exciting things like this, which is our social community. And you will get to engage on a social level with people now, all the fun sporting teams that we have and all the social events that we run as well. Did you want to add anything, guys, or are you happy with that?
I'm happy with that. I think we've covered quite a lot. It's any questions as things change, then just let us know, fire them through, and happy to help as much as we can.
Yeah, just to say that we're really looking forward to welcoming you to the UK and being part of that adventure and that trip for you. And for us, it's much more than just finding you a great job. With the pictures, I think they show it really well that we want to be part of that network and that support for you, and show you everything that the UK has to offer, more than just finding you a job.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. And I will reach out to everybody after this webinar. So thank you so much for tuning in and listening. And I will call you all individually. Any personal questions that you have, we can run through them then. And I'll also email through this presentation to everybody that signed up. Yeah, so thank you so much. Enjoy your evening.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, guys. Enjoy your evening. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye.